House Art Center, and I'm coming to you from Longmont, Colorado, with another art class for Watercolor Week this week. And this week we are going to be doing a painting based on Vincent Van Gogh's Sunflowers. And we are going to be learning a little bit about complementary colors and the color wheel. You might be wondering why I'm wearing my cat ears and my dog shirt. And that is because we are having another themed week next week. And next week's theme for our classes is going to be animals and pets. So that's why I'm wearing my cat hat and I'm wearing my pug shirt. And if you don't know, Miss Elaine actually has two pugs, but I keep them out of the room while I'm doing classes because they get a little crazy. So I'm going to sit down and I'm going to bring this down just a little bit so you guys can see what I'm doing when I sit down. But hopefully you guys have finished your projects from Wednesday, and I just wanted to show you how mine turned out. And this is my turtle from our watercolor washes and scientific solutions and turtles class, which was on Wednesday. And so hopefully your textures turned out well too. I know that we did the saran wrap at the end and then we kind of just let it dry. So hopefully you were patient and your saran wrap was able to create a texture that looked really cool. So pulling out all my other artwork from next to me. And then last week, if you want to check out, if you didn't do the class with me, but you wanted to see some of the stuff that we made, this is my texture using saran wrap. We made scientific solutions using bleach and also salt to create different kinds of effects with our watercolor. So this is regular water, and that's the salt water, and that's the bleach. And then on Monday for Watercolor Week, we did our color wheel and also our science spider. So our spider. So I'm going to put these to the side. So that's what we did for the beginning part of this week. And today we're going to be doing our sunflowers with complementary colors and also using watercolor and crayon or oil pastel resist. So I'm going to come down here, hopefully to find my color wheel. So if you're just coming on, my name is Miss Elaine. I'm the executive director at the Firehouse Art Center. We're currently not having classes at the space just to follow safe distancing rules, but we are hoping to open up soon, based on recommendations by the CDC. So I am just pulling out the forms that you guys need. So as far as art history, I don't know how many of you guys are familiar with Vincent Van Gogh. You may be familiar with his painting Starry Night. And so I'm going to show you a picture of Vincent Van Gogh. So that is him. And this is the picture Starry, Starry Night, which you might be familiar with. And here are some others. And this is the painting that we are going to use as our reference today. So it's sunflowers. So as you can see, he uses lots of bright colors and he has lots of movement in the line of his painting. So if you look close, you can see his brush strokes and the movement of his painting, and especially in Starry Night. So you'll see right there all the movement within Starry Night. And you can kind of imagine whether that's the wind or if that's like the twinkling of the stars. So he was a very influential painter of his time. I'm going to put this book away. I was actually going to read some facts from this book, but I found out when I turned and looked at the pages that it's all in French. I don't speak French, so I pulled up some information online about Vincent Van Gogh. But Vincent Van Gogh is an artist and a painter. He was born on March 30th, in 1853 in the Netherlands. He died in 1890, so he's not alive anymore. And his famous works were Starry Night, The Bedroom, Irises, and Sunflowers. So he is of the style of painting of post-impressionism and the period of modern art. So as I'm reading down here, I also wanted to share with you, and this is not something that I learned from what I'm reading right now, but he only sold one painting while he was alive. So a lot of you are very familiar with his work, but even though he was a famous artist, he still only sold one painting when he was alive. He could barely take care of himself, but he still continued to paint and painted one of most famous paintings, Starry Night, while he was in the hospital. Many of his paintings during the time while he was in his hospital featured cypress trees and lots of swirling colors. So although he wasn't famous during his lifetime, today he's considered one of the greatest and most influential artists of his time. Many of his paintings sell for millions of dollars today. There are over 800 surviving oil paintings, as well as over 1,000 watercolors and sketches of his work. And interesting facts about him. You can see the painting Starry Night at the New York Museum of Modern Art. And also, Van Gogh was influenced by Japanese prints and woodcuts, which he studied intensely. So even though he's he produced a lot of work and is also a very influential painter, he still studied other people's work and took what he learned and brought it into his. So that is a little bit of information about Vincent van Gogh. And now that we've learned a little bit about him, we can get started with our sunflowers ourselves. So as far as what we're going to be doing today, I wanted to turn the screen down so you guys can see my workspace. I have a little bit of information about complementary colors, and that is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be working with complementary colors as well as elements of design. So hang tight. I'm going to turn the screen down and we're going to get started. Okay, so elements of design. Today, we are going to be working on our sunflowers. We are going to be using line. So horizontal, vertical, diagonal, straight, curved, dotted, broken, thick, and thin. We're going to be using lines specifically here to create our design, but also inside the sunflowers. We're going to be using pattern. So that is repeated visual elements. So if you look, you'll see zigzags, you'll see dots, you'll see curves, you'll see repeated shapes. That is the next element of design. So shape, two-dimensional, flat, geometric, so square, circle, oval, or triangle, and organic, all other shapes. So if you look in here, you'll see some circles, you'll see triangles. So I repeated shapes in the interior of my sunflower. So we're going to be using lots of line and shape. We're not going to be doing too much with form. So form is three-dimensional. The only thing that we're going to be doing with form and possibly with space is the fact that we're going to be putting the vase, on top of a table. So you're going to see an overlap of the vase on the table, and the vase is going to be in front, sitting on top of the table, but in front of this background area. And that's how we're going to use form and shape to create space. Then color. So color refers to the wavelengths of light, hue, intensity, temperature. So we're going to be using color in our design, and we're specifically going to be complementary colors, and I'll get into that in a second, as well as the primary colors and the secondary colors. So our primary colors, if you remember from our last class, our primary colors are red, blue, and yellow. Our secondary colors are purple, which is kind of seen in here, green, and orange, which is in the vase as well. So those are how we're going to be using color today. And as far as the other things, value, the lightness or darkness of an image. So that is kind of like the lightness or darkness of the color. We get a lot of value when you use watercolor because depending on how much pigment and how much water you're using, there's a lot of variation in color. And then texture, feel, appearance, thickness or stickiness of a surface. So smooth, rough, silky, furry. We're going to get a lot of texture in the way that we use our pattern. So that is how we're going to use that element of art in this drawing today. So I'm going to move this to the side and we're going to talk about our colors and complementary colors that we're going to be using today. So when we talk about complementary colors, those are the colors opposite each other on the color wheel. Now, graphic designers, artists, painters, anyone who is using color theory and design, they use this to create contrast and as well as pleasing color combinations. So if you look, you'll see that green's complementary color is red. So that's how we use this here. Green goes on the background, red goes on the table. Those are complementary colors. Then there is another color combination for complementary colors, blue and orange. Now, if you think, especially being from Colorado, what sports team might use that combination, you'll recognize that the Denver Broncos use the color combination, the complementary color scheme of blue and orange. And there's also a holiday that uses the complementary color scheme, green and red, which would be Christmas. So these combinations are used quite frequently. The last one is yellow and purple. And for our next painting, so this one, I'm going to put purple on the center, and then the yellow would be the petals. So that's how I'm going to do the yellow and the purple for my drawing today. This right here, the blue and the orange, are in the vase. Okay, so I'm going to put this to the side, but I'm going to refer to it as we are painting. And I'm also going to grab my Van Gogh book again, because I want you guys to look at Van Gogh's painting when we make ours. Okay, so there's Van Gogh's painting. This one is ours. I'm going to put this to the front, and I'm going to get my paper out. Okay, so before we get started, I want to make sure that you guys have your supplies. So for your supplies, you're basically going to be using crayons. And I have these Mr. Sketch Smelly Scented crayons. If you don't have crayons in all those colors, then you can also use oil pastels. So I have oil pastels for the other colors to make sure I have all the color, the complementary colors. So you need to make sure that you have red, which I have right here. The complementary color for red is green. So I need to make sure that I have a green, which I have right there. And you can mix the oil pastels and the crayon. It doesn't really matter. So I have red and green. Now I need orange and blue. So I have orange and blue right there. And then I'm going to need yellow and purple. So here's my yellow. And purple is right there. I might actually want a lighter purple, so I'm going to grab this purple. Okay, so just make sure you have all the complementary colors of the color wheel. So red, blue, and yellow for your primary colors, and then orange, green, and purple for your secondary colors. And if you're using pastels, you have to use the oil pastels, not the chalk pastels, because chalk pastels won't resist the watercolor. Only oil pastels will. And I have to let you know, do not let these fall on the ground and stay there, because if you have carpeting and you have an oil pastel on the ground and then you step on it, it'll get smushed to the carpet and nobody will be happy about that. If you're on hardwood floor, if you step on these, they will crumble and they will also get smushed to the floor. So make sure you pick these up and keep your art area space clean. Okay. We will also need a black. And that is just for drawing the table line and the vase. Okay. Now that you have all your crayons together, you need to make sure you have all your watercolor stuff together as well. So for that, you're going to need your water and your brushes. You're not really going to need that many brushes today because we can rinse out between the colors. And you will need either your liquid watercolors and or your pan watercolors. Now for your pan watercolors, you probably have all of your colors mixed, whether they're primary and secondary plus a bunch of extra ones. For the primary colors, for the liquid watercolor, I only have my primary colors. So blue, red, and yellow. And the reason that I only have these three is to demonstrate color mixing. So depending on what tools you have, it kind of gives you an idea of what you need to do for the rest of the class. Okay, now I'm going to take my black crayon and we're going to get started. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to look at your piece of paper and you're going to visually separate it into thirds. If you want to, you can measure, but I'm just saying to estimate. So that is making your best guess and finding 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Okay? Don't do anything yet. I just want you to visually separate your paper into thirds. Then I want you to kind of figure out where the center of the page is. So it's going to be right here. You are going to draw a U. If you feel like doing this with a pencil first, you can. So I'm just going to draw a U just like that. Now, the U is the vase. So you've just made your vase. Now, because I said 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, and you want to visually kind of plan that out. So here's 1/3, here's the next third, so second third, and 3/3, which makes the whole. I want you to make a line from the vase to the outside of the paper at where you think that 1/3 line would be. Don't go through the vase. Make another line on the other side. Now, the reason why you didn't go through the vase is because the vase is sitting on top of the table. So this space is in front of this space. So this is overlapping this. And overlapping elements in your artwork create visual space. So it'll give you an idea of where this vase is sitting in relation to your your table. And then also in relation to the background, which is going to be here. Okay? Now, I want you to take one of your crayons, whether it's red, orange, or yellow. So one of your warm colored crayons. And we're going to come up to where the sunflowers are. Now, it's up to you how many sunflowers you want to do. If you look at mine, you'll see I have 3. If you look at Van Gogh's, you'll see he has many. So he has way more than 3 on his. But you don't want to do too many because you want to create a space where you can put patterns within the center of your sunflower. So if I were to do 10 sunflowers in my design, I wouldn't really have that much space to put patterns within my sunflowers. So I'm going to stick with 3. I'm going to do mine with an orange crayon. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a big circle on my page like this. This is the largest circle for my sunflower. So if you look at the one that I made before, it's this circle right here. Okay? Then I am going to draw a smaller circle. So all of the other sunflowers I'm going to do are going to be smaller. So maybe I'll do one here, and then I'll follow this, and I'll do another one up here. Okay? Excellent. So now we have our large circle and two smaller circles. So when we're done with our painting, we're going to have a total of 3 sunflowers. So as you are doing your drawing, you are going to draw another circle inside this large circle. It's going to have the same center point, so it's going to be a concentric circle, and it's going to be a little bit inside of that circle. So if you aren't getting what I'm saying, it's going to look like that. So it's like a big O. Okay? You're going to do the same thing for these little circles. And they're going to look like smaller O's. Or donuts. Okay, you're going to leave these guys alone. And you're going to go back to this one. And you're going to make another circle inside of that one. And then an even smaller circle, just like that. Okay, so these guys were main O's, and this one kind of looks like a bullseye target. So it has one small circle, another larger circle, an even larger circle, and then the first large circle that we made. So it has 1, 2, 3, 4 concentric circles. And concentric circles share the same central point. Okay? Now that we have our sunflowers planned out, I want you to find, you can start varying up the colors that you use, but we're first going to think about patterns, and I'm going to move this because this is kind of hard to draw on, but we can go back to it later. We're going to think of patterns and lines that we can repeat in these small little sunflowers. So I am going to put circles in this smallest circle right here. So tiny, tiny circles with my crayon. And it looks like that. So the repeated pattern, the repeated visual element, or the repeated shape in this sunflower center is a circle. Now I'm going to want to repeat a different pattern in the outer circle. So this one I'm going to do lines. And you can do the same thing that I'm doing, or if you wanted to use a different repeated element, you can. And that's what mine looks like right there. Okay? So let's try something different for this sunflower. I did circles for here. Maybe I could do a repeated kind of line in this one. Maybe I could do repeated dots. So I'm just going to put a bunch of dots in the center. So not little circles where I draw out the shape. These are using line, but the kind of line I'm using is a very short line, and it's just basically a dot that I am repeating over and over inside my sunflower. So there we go. For the outside right here, I'm going to do a different pattern, and I am going to do zigzags. You can do the same thing if you want, or you can choose something different. Okay? Okay. So ta-da! Those are my two sunflowers. Circles and lines, dots and zigzags. I'm going to move over to this guy, and I'm going to actually switch to my yellow. And I know I had a yellow crayon around here, but it's gone missing. So I'm going to use my yellow pastel. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to figure out what patterns I want inside my sunflower circles. And I'm going to try to do a different pattern for each ring. For the center one, I'm just going to do like an asterisk, like a little star. The next one, I'm going to do wavy lines. Oh no, I skipped this one. Well, I'll do wavy lines for this one. And for this one on the center, I'll do stripes. Stripes. Just like that. Okay. Now for the next one, okay, let me see. For this next one, so I have the wavy lines for this one. Stripes and asterisks. I'm going to do, for this one, I kind of had a looping line, so I'll do that again. And I'll show you guys up close so that you guys can see. But basically, each ring of these concentric circles for your sunflower center is going to be a different pattern, whether you want to do a repeating shape as your visual element, or you want to do a repeating line as your element. But this is what mine look like. Okay, so I have the asterisks, I have the lines, I have waves, and then I have a looping line. This one I repeated dots and zigzag. This one I repeated circles and stripes. Okay, so those are the patterns we're using today. Next, we're going to draw my favorite part of the sunflower, and that's the petals. Now, if you look at sunflower petals, they kind of are pointy at the ends. So they're kind of like curvy, pointy triangles. So I'm going to draw it with an orange crayon so you guys can see. And if you see that, it's kind of like a curvy, pointy triangle. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and put my petals in. And we're going to overlap this flower over the smaller ones to create space. So when I do my petals for this one, the petals are going to go behind these guys just to create the space that this smaller one is behind this one. Then this one can be behind this one. Okay, so I'm going to do the petals for this one, pointy triangles. So still behind this, and then also behind this one. So you won't see the petals where they overlap, and that creates the space. So if you look, this petal is in front of this petal. So this flower is in front of this one, but this flower is in front of this one. Okay, so that's how we create space in our drawing. Then after we do that, we're going to color in our petals with yellow. Now remember, whatever you don't color in will be colored by the watercolor when we paint over it. So make sure you try your best to neatly color in your petals. So if you look, I'm taking my time to fill in that space because I want my petals to stay bright and yellow once I paint it with the watercolor. Okay. And we're just coloring in the petals. We've already done the patterns in the center. So right now we're just coloring all the petals yellow. So just a little bit of facts about sunflowers. Sunflowers actually follow the sun as the sun rises and as the sun sets. So you'll see, if you've never seen like a whole field of sunflowers before, when you see this field, you'll see all the flowers painted or pointed in the same direction. So it's a really cool fact about sunflowers. And they're very useful plants because they can be used for food, not just for animals, but a lot of people eat sunflower seeds. A lot of people eat sunflower butter and use sunflower oil as well. So very useful plants. Now, we've gotten the sunflowers done. Go ahead and grab your green crayon or pastel, and you can make some stems and even some leaves. It's up to you though, how many you want to make. Okay. So there is my sunflower and leaves, and now we're going to work on the vase. Now, if you look at Van Gogh's vase, you'll see that he has two colors right here. And we can do it that way as well. Or if you want to do pattern stripes on yours, you can. But you need to choose complementary colors. So go ahead and choose whether you want to do a vase that is orange and blue, or a vase that is red and green, or a vase that is purple and yellow. Your choice. Okay? I am going to do the same as this one. So I'm going to do orange and blue, and I'm just going to design it like Van Gogh did. So I'm going to do 1 part blue, just like this. And I'm remembering that any part that I don't color with my crayon is going to be painted. So I'm doing a pretty good job getting coverage. And then orange. Okay. Just like that. And we are ready to paint. So if you have chosen blue and orange for your vase, you can choose red and green for your background and your table. And it's really up to you which one you want to do on which part of your painting. I'm going to open up my palette, and I'm going to put it right down here. And I'm going to add my watercolor. So as I said before, if you don't have liquid watercolor, I suggest buying it online and getting it delivered. It is such a great tool. The colors are very vibrant, and it's really easy to mix your colors based on just these 3 primary colors. They also have really cool liquid metallic watercolors that are really great. But pan watercolors work for this. I'm going to demonstrate this using liquid watercolors though. So because I chose my blue and my orange complementary colors, I'm going to choose my red and my green for the complementary colors on the table and the background. And for this one, I'm going to do red for the wallpaper. Now try to actually, you can paint right over it. Okay, just don't paint on the centers. I forgot that we were doing resist. So don't paint the centers of the sunflowers, but because the oil pastel resists the watercolor, you can paint red all the way up to the centers. I'm leaving the centers open because I'm going to do purple in the centers. Okay, so red. And you'll see that the oil pastel resists that watercolor. And the paper doesn't pick it up. So where it turns red, where the oil pastel isn't, where you have oil pastel, it stays the color of that oil pastel. Okay, so I'm going to keep painting this. Now, if you remember from your color wheel what the complementary color of red is, you will know that the next thing that we're going to paint is the green table. But as I said, I only have primary colors for my watercolor. So I'm going to have to mix green by painting first yellow and then painting my second color, which is blue. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to paint yellow first, right here down at the bottom. And this is so I can get green because yellow plus blue makes green. And green is the complementary color of red. If you want to, you can paint over this part, but it doesn't really matter. Okay. I might as well do that above here too. So this part is red. So this just demonstrates that this will resist your colors. Okay. Now I have yellow here and I'm going to swish and clean off my brush and pick up my blue because what happens is when I put my blue over the yellow, it'll turn green. Just like that. So as far as complementary colors, now we have two pairs. We have the orange and blue pair, and we have the red and the green pair. Now we have to do the yellow and purple pair. So we have the yellow here. We're going to put purple on the inside of the sunflowers. Now to make purple, I'm going to need to mix two colors, and those colors are blue and red because blue and red make purple. So first I'm going to paint blue, and I really love it how that yellow resists that blue, and it's such a pretty color. And you can really see how it resists the watercolor. I'm going to show you this one too because the orange does a really good job too. And I'm going to swish and wipe to make sure my palette stays clean. I'm going to pick up just a little bit of red. Red is a very strong color, and we want to make sure it doesn't overpower the blue. And it makes a very pretty purple color. Just like that. Okay, and that is my painting today. So as it dries, you will see that the oil pastel comes out a little bit more and becomes more vibrant. But we have all of our complementary colors in this project today. We have our yellow and purple. We have our red and our green. And we have our blue and our orange. We learned a little bit about Vincent Van Gogh as far as a famous artist in history. And we learned more about watercolor, color mixing, and oil pastel and crayon resist. I'm going to flip this up so you guys can see me again. And I'm back. So here I am with my cat hat and my dog shirt. We are going to be doing a whole week on animals next week. So come back for that. As far as medium, I think we're going to be doing drawing on Monday, painting on Wednesday, and then a multimedia kind of project on Friday. But it's all about cats and dogs, about household pets and animals. So once again, I'm Elaine from the Firehouse Art Center. Thanks for coming to our virtual art classes. I love seeing what you guys create. So if you get a chance, send me your artwork and I'll post it on the Firehouse Art Center Facebook page. If you go to the Facebook Firehouse Art Center Facebook page, you'll see that I have a creativity bingo that I shared. So play along, get outside, do some chalk art. There's some fun things on there. But if you get a straight line across or down or diagonally, we have stickers to give out to the kids. If you get a full blackout, then you can get an art kit from the Firehouse, and you can keep continuing to do your art while you're at home. So thank you so much for coming. I hope you had a good time. I did. I really enjoyed Watercolor Week. Watercolor is one of my favorite mediums. It's kind of hard to master, but it's a fun challenge. And there are a lot of great things that you could do with watercolor, especially with some of the techniques that we learned this week. So I'll see you next week. Thank you very much. Bye.